Chief Melanson, thank you so much for sitting down with us today. This case, Jacqueline Torres-Garcia, is so difficult on a personal level because you looked pained during that news conference. How does a story like this impact you?
Yeah, so it's not just me, right? But it's everybody that works on these cases, and I think first and foremost, as police officers, we're human beings, right? We're fathers, brothers, mothers, sisters, daughters. And when you look at this case and you look at what people can do to other people, it really is troubling because at the end of the day, we have to keep our composure. We are investigating a crime. We are thinking through these things, but we have all the same emotions that everybody else has. And that night I have to go home and see my kids and those sorts of things, and then just and make pretend none of it ever happened, right? And so I think these cases over time just take their toll, and especially I think that all of us accept that when they involve the abuse of children or the death of children, those are even more harmful, or those are even more difficult to investigate for us.
This case has horrified Connecticut. People look at the suspects and they can't believe some of the allegations because they are so shocking. As you first learned about this case and started to go through the details, what went through your mind just about how horrible it is?
Yeah, I guess the first thing is, how can a parent do this to their child? I mean, when we deal with other, and I've investigated murders before, murders for hire, those sorts of things, and those are difficult. Those are, you think about the families that are impacted, right? The mothers and fathers who will never see their kids again, or this one takes on a whole different tone when it's the parents abusing a helpless child. And I think that we wonder, because in our heads, right, the way they work, how could you possibly do this to your kids? Because all of us would say there's nothing I wouldn't do for my kids. And so when you see this and you see how this happened, and obviously a good detective will relive the event in their head because we're trying to piece it together, right? We're visual type of people and we're trying to piece that together. So you have to go into those places and put yourself in her spot of what was occurring. And those are very, very difficult. And the first thing that goes through is, how could a parent possibly do this to a child?
It's frustrating for you, no doubt, to know that this was going on at this place in Farmington. There's nothing you could have done about it, obviously, but when you released the video the other day and we got our first look at them in action, and if prosecutors are correct and police are correct, which we believe that they are, those two knew that she was dead. Is that frustrating to look at that video now, knowing that?
It's frustrating to know that she had been dead when we started investigating this for over a year. When we finally got to the probable date of death, we're talking about over a year that they concealed this from their family, their friends, from the other kids in the house. Like, they were able to then keep their daughter, who is dead, in the basement. And so I will tell you, the officers, we did speak to the officers who did respond to that call, and they're beating themselves up. But the reality of it is, I think all of us know, those officers going to that scene were going for a noise complaint.
Sure.
Those noise complaint, we handle thousands of those a year. They're normally sometimes a domestic, sometimes it's just people being loud. And so that's why you saw those officers asking to see, the boyfriend in the house, talking to her, is everything okay? Because that's what we're dealing with. Nobody had in our radar that there was a missing, or even further from our minds was that there was a dead child in the house. I mean, it just, in the thousands and thousands of cases that we've been on, this has just not occurred. But those officers are saying, boy, is there something I could have done different? And the reality of it is, every police expert that you'll ever talk to said they handled that professionally. They handled it the way that every police officer that you would want them to handle that call.
So you've dealt with a lot of criminals over the years, and looking at that video, did you see anything in them that maybe the average person does not? Do they look like they're lying at all?
So afterwards, you go back and you start looking at it. And the problem is, when you talk about, and I did polygraph for many years, when you talk about when people are lying, the reality of it is you have to norm somebody first. So what is their normal behavior anyway? They don't have that ability in that couple minutes. And don't forget, I mean, obviously she's pregnant. They, they attribute some of those emotions to being pregnant and some of that. And so there was nothing telling in there. I think what everybody took about that was that here are the police officers there. They know that they murdered their daughter and that she's in the house, and how basically calm they were. Like how they were not, there was no furtive, movements. There was no, so I think that's what everybody took from that, is just how calm they were in that.
How does a police officer process bad news and gruesome scenes? I mean, you've seen it all in your career. You've seen murders, you've seen accidents, Jennifer Dulos, Luke Rue, and now this case. How do you process it all? How do you move on?
Yeah, I think while you're doing the job, you have to compartmentalize these things, right? Because you can't show the emotion, you can't, although we do, you have to understand that there's a job you're doing, right? And so for this case, really it was the goal of bringing justice for Jacqueline, right, for Mimi. So that was our goal. I still have her Christmas picture sitting front and center on my desk. And the reality of it is, because I never want to forget why I'm doing this job. So it's a very difficult that you have to compartmentalize. I have a good friend who retired after 30 plus years in law enforcement. He retired 2 years ago. And he was saying just now he's realizing the impact. After being away for 2 years, all of the scenes of, that you've had to deal with, all the emotions that you've dealt with, that you've compartmentalized so that you can do your job. Because every day you come in, nobody came in to work that day saying, oh, we're going to be working a murder of an 11-year-old girl today, right? So your day gets upended, and obviously, you just have to deal with it. And I think what police officers do and do well is that they focus on making sure that they want to bring justice, and they want to find who's accountable for this and hold them.
Do you ever go home and just cry or need a hug or just need to chill for a few minutes and get away from it?
So luckily, I have being in this so long, I have a very strong support network of other law enforcement people that I call, whether it be on the way home or on the way in, to talk these things out. I also have a very big family, I'm one of 9 kids, and we're very close. And so I have a strong support network. But I will tell you, we also, from the Chiefs of Police Association, started a wellness program. And really it was for physical, mental wellness, to prevent police officer suicide, because these things take their toll on police officers. So, and really what we're doing is, when I started many, many years ago, you could not ask for help. You could not go see a counselor. You could not talk about your mental health. Like, that was a sign of weakness. We have completely evolved now, where really we have everybody has employee assistance programs. We encourage mental health, and really we want to be well, serve well, and make sure that we can, when we retire, that we retire mentally, physically healthy from this job.
And you're the chief, you're the boss. You mentioned that the officers who went to the scene in that video are beating themselves up, even though there's nothing they really could have done. Did they ever come to you, particularly the younger officers, and just unload their feelings because it's so difficult of a job?
Yeah, and obviously everybody knows, like, the chief is the last one they want to go to do that. But obviously I encourage and open that sort of communication, and I share how I feel about it, right? Yeah. And so I think that has gone a long way. And obviously the police officers we have took this job to help protect and serve, and that's just not a tagline, but they truly believe that. And when something like this happened, they really want to kick themselves to say, what could I have done, when we know there's really nothing. But that still takes a toll on them.
From what you've seen in your career, these suspects here in this case, how do they rank in terms of, are they among the worst you've ever seen? In terms of allegations?
In terms of allegations, I've worked a lot of child abuse cases.
This is sick.
But this is like this kind of goes to another level, because most of the cases that I have worked on, it was a split second kind of emotional decision out of rage, out of something, and we were able to, solve that case. This one, they kept concealed. And we all know for so long they could have done something to notify. And everybody's asking, well, geez, how did people not know? How did people not know? Well, people didn't think that parents were going to kill their child and keep them, from reporting that. So.
And she was tied up on a pee pad was one of the things I believe that they talked about, and it's just we don't see this on the news all the time. This is a really unusual, heinous case. Yeah.
No, it's and I think that's the most difficult part about this, right? We deal with every day. The news is reporting about somebody who was killed in a car accident. Somebody maybe. There was a domestic issue, and there was an assault, or, there's all these. I think it takes it to another level when you see that parents starved their child to death and then didn't report it for a year. That's to your point.
The case is now in the hands of the state's attorney's office and prosecutors and New Britain police, and what's left for you to do? Is there anything more that Farmington police have to do?
Yes, no, we are combing through
that you
all
can talk about.
Yeah, we are. Obviously, this investigation doesn't end, and I said in my press conference, I had mentioned that knowing how these investigations work, being involved in them for so long, the investigation will continue for months and years. And I say that because the prosecution of this case, as we're leading up to it, still people will call. And one of the detectives said, everybody we talk to leads to 2 other interviews. And so we are constantly looking for any information that people have, trying to track back, the last year, recreate that last year, but also looking at any other documents and anything else that we might find.
Chief Melanson, I appreciate your help. I know it's not easy.
No.
Thanks for talking.
Thank you. Appreciate it.